Man, I wonder how much of this video will be wrong when Sunbreak drops. A short while ago I made a silly little video on the charge blade. Some of you may have seen it. Well, I think a lot of you did. I'm pretty proud of it, truth be told. It's one of my better written videos. And as much as the comments section tries to argue otherwise, truth be told, I'm a genius, my scripts are amazing, and I'm incredibly modest to boot. The point is, in that video we spoke about what was holding Charge Blade back in Rise, what was stopping it from realising its true potential and being an amazing speedrun weapon and consistent tool for anyone new to the series to check out. Interestingly enough, it wasn't the damage, which is often the first thing people think about when a speedrunner like myself expresses concerns about a weapon. No. This was more mechanical issues with the weapon. Anyways, the Sunbreak demo is out. I've gotten my clear on Malzeno. Truth be told, I didn't feel like I should comment on the demo unless I'd beaten everything. I think that's a good way to do it. So, I'm CeraCymmetry, and here's a little rundown of the Charge Blade from the Sunbreak demo. First things first, it is a demo. The performance here is probably not going to be that indicative of the power or the feel in the full game. I should know this, I've been burned one too many times by demo Gunlance in the past. But basically, Charge Blade, with all the changes that we've had, does give us a good idea, but of course there are things that can change, as long as we're all on the same page about that. Additionally, this is going to be a pretty realistic look at the weapon from the time I've had with it, so if you're here for red circles on the thumbnail or screaming about how cool things look, then my bad, that ain't my thing. We're going to be fair to the thing here. I hope you can appreciate that. So, starting off with the big question, how is SAED? That's right, SAED files are now fixed. The height has been raised fairly significantly, and on top of that, the hitbox persists for a lot longer now. I didn't actually tackle that last part in the previous video, but another issue is that files would disappear way too quickly. No longer an issue now, they can still catch things like wings or tails as they lower during animations. It's so satisfying not having to spin the roulette wheel every single time you attack, and genuinely being consistent in your damage. I'm serious, I can't really overstate what this does for various matchups now. SAED has way more options going into Rise in terms of matchups just for this change alone. Diablos, Ragnar, hell even Rathian, all resolved with this one fix. Magnificent. And a relief for me personally, because it was starting to look like we'd have to settle for the clunkier and slightly worse Axe Hopper, and I really don't like Axe Hopper. Next up is the skill swap mechanic that's been introduced. From trailers, we're going to be expected to interact with it a lot, and I understand Capcom wanting to push this mechanic as they do with each game, but honestly it really doesn't look like this will be the case for CB. We're not going to be using those iframes too much. You see, with SAED matchups, you'll bring your counter peak on one scroll, and on the other? Well, it's pretty simple. Whenever the monster falls over, or if you think you've got time and are feeling a bit spicy, it's Axe Hopper time. Yeah, that's right, two SAED-centric styles on either scroll. The justification here is the increased motion value of Axe Hopper, which means you really do get the most out of those topples when you decide to go for the attack. You've just got to make sure to aim your axe properly, and you'll do just fine. On a standard topple, it's going to be more than enough time for one charged sword hit, and then swap, reload your files, axe hop, and swap back. It is quite surprising the amount you can get away with. So that's the majority of the changes that we can see with SAED. If Malzeno's hitboxes are anything to go by, then potentially with some higher element options, we may see the return of elemental SAED. Honestly, I think Kiara Ice deserves to come back at this point. However, on the other side of the coin is the spinning slash playstyle, which I did cover briefly once again in the previous video, and had a lot more matchups in base Rise. It seems to have gotten itself a new tool, which we're going to call the elephant in the room. Ready Stance. Our new Silkbind was revealed quite a bit before the demo dropped, and reactions from a lot of players, myself included, ranged from, okay, it's just more utility, to, where in the entire Christ is this going to be relevant? And rightly so. Really, it was hard to say from that trailer alone where Ready Stance was going to be used, as from the description it was given, it seemed to be a more readily available guard point that consumed a bug, and really, yeah, that's kind of all it is. See, the problem here lies in what it's going to be best at, which is providing a guard point for spinning slash mode that doesn't take you out of axe mode and needs you to recharge. Granted, when it does work, it's going to be very good. But there's a problem here, and it lies in guard levels. You're really going to want to listen for this one. Here's the issue with Ready Stance. You see, if you're running Ready Stance with spinning slash, the only way you're going to be able to combo an axe attack out of it is with complete minimum knockback. Otherwise, with medium or above knockback, it's just a normal guard point, meaning that you lose axe mode if you choose any response, and at that point there's literally less benefits to taking this skill over counterpeak performance. At least with counterpeak you refill your files to immediately recharge, and you have to pick one or the other at this point. Granted, Ready Stance does have increased guard when compared to the standard guard point, but you still need to ensure that you're getting the absolute minimum knockback to get the most out of it. There's a smaller margin of error here. So overall, what does this mean? In the full game, essentially you're going to need to invest heavily into the guard skill if you want to take advantage of it. Not too bad of course, but guard is a level 2 decoration now, and that's a valuable slot size for a lot of things. Even with artillery no longer being required, you're still going to want to look at attack, weakness exploit, any new offensive skills you get, you name it, will need to prioritize. And here is where the previously mentioned skill tax rears its ugly head again. I understand that in a G-rank game we're going to be getting more slots, more customization, higher levels of charms and so on, but to fit 5 points of a level 2 skill, that's going to be a lot of space that you'll need. I honestly overall do think that there'll be a space for Ready Stance and Spinning Slash, I really do. And no, I'm not talking about using it to reset a combo from stationary. Truthfully, that shit's for Twitter clips, let's be honest. No, I really don't think that's going to be a good combo to use when the alternative is just using the upswing to regenerate your files and saving yourself a bug in the process. But you never know, we've got Firing Pin and the new Aerial Silkbind to test out in the full game, so we could see a dramatic change. On top of that, whilst the game does still drop some inputs, which I believe may be down to the engine at this point, I've noticed things do feel a little bit tighter when comboing. That's good, pointing us in the right direction to stop that sort of input buffer issue we had before. But overall, whilst there are still problems, and I do think that some Silkbinds are a bit misguided, I really do think Chargeblade is in for a world of good in Sunbreak. Honestly, I really hope you'll give the weapon a try when it comes to it. I know my previous video was seen as a sort of negative outlook on Chargeblade, but it was my main weapon throughout Base Rise, and it's genuinely fun to play. And now that it works way more consistently, I think it's going to be one of the most fun options to pick. The changes, they've been mostly intriguing, but there's only so much we can glean from a demo, of course. However, it does look like it's getting some love, and I could not be happier. What weapon caught your eye in the demo? Have you beaten Malzeno yet? Let me know in those comments. Until next time, lads, I'll see you later.